Welcome, welcome. I am Sarah, and this is some yoga with Come Follow Me. And why? Why do I talk about combining yoga with scripture? There is a tool with yoga that brings in mindfulness, and that element, both on the mat and then off the mat, is how I find the combination of those kind of soaking in those scripture words in a beautiful way. In Doctrine and Covenants 88:15, it says, "And the spirit and the body are the soul of man." And yoga is to unite. So when we're looking at uniting our minds, our bodies, and our spirits, bring scripture along in the journey, and it's a beautiful practice. So today is Alma 5 through 7, the week of June 1st through the 7th. And in Alma chapter 5, it's a beautiful focus on kind of taking a personal interview, maybe, or maybe taking an inventory. And ultimately, I think it leads us to creating space to grow and using the power of intention in order to do that. So the theme for the practice today, or the focus, actually begins with Alma 5:7, where it says, "Their souls were illuminated by the light of the everlasting word." And we'll be talking throughout our practice today of illuminating light and how we can create space to grow with that light rather than being closed off, without it. So let's get started. We are beginning today in a seated position. And let this yoga practice be whatever it is for you. Maybe that's following along with these poses. Maybe that's meditating and just listening and soaking in that stillness. Whatever it is for you, let that practice be yours here and now. So in a seated position, let's take those legs so that they're separated and we're stacking up onto those sit bones nice and even. Close the eyes and just let the hands come to the outer edges of the knees. Inhaling and exhaling, just feel the spine start to lengthen, where we're drawing the crown of the head up towards the sky. And as that head lengthens, we notice the shoulders, and we let those shoulders release, relax down into those back pockets. And we just start creating space physically for those hearts to open. So much of our day can be a rounded place, whether that's driving or working on a computer or bending over to stoop and to grab. So really just using this opening sensation to just start physically creating some space through that chest, neck, shoulders, heart space. And as much as we want to jump in to moving forward, let's just slow down. Lengthen that inhale. Lengthen that exhale. And let's bring the minds to kind of a small personal interview, where we're really just taking an inventory of the past 24 hours. Let your mind just go through the past 24 hours. Remember about those different actions that happened. Maybe there was pendulums of emotions within the last 24 hours. And as we look back just on these 24 hours, just slow down enough to notice. Is there room for forgiveness? Grace? Is there room to maybe lower that ego someplace in those last 24 hours and notice some humility, opportunity? Is there room for letting go, maybe of some comparison or competition? And as we look back over these 24 hours, it's not from a place of judgment. So we start to feel that judgment or that self-loathing or maybe that beating ourselves up. That's not the story that we're looking for. We're just looking at the last 24 hours. And we're also remembering that everything that's happened has led you to this exact place, giving us the full opportunity to discover our highest self within the present moment. So let's take an inhale together, sweeping those arms all the way up towards the sky. And as we exhale, draw your right arm forward and your left arm back. Taking just a gentle twist. Inhaling up towards the sky. Exhaling, draw your left arm forward and your right arm back. Beautiful. So continue that space. Inhaling and exhaling. And what we're doing is, in this twist, we're wringing out the spine. But along with that wringing out, maybe we're also wringing out any of that negative energy that's carried into this space right now. Maybe we're wringing out that judgment, comparison, that competition. And we're letting go. And as we wring out, we're creating space. Beautiful. Take those hands to either sides of the knees and just draw a circle with the body. As we wring out, we're creating space for what it is that we want to illuminate in that light. Coming over to all fours, finding the cat-cow position. We have those hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Engage the belly, curl the toes under. Inhale nice and long, creating space. And then exhale, round through the spine. Inhaling, releasing, dropping into cat. Exhaling, rounding, finding cat. I said those backwards. Exhaling, finding cow, but you know where I'm going. Working through that cow position here, and then rounding and lifting up into the cat position. Beautiful. One more time. Feeling that cow. And exhaling with the cat. Toes curled under, knees lift off, maybe just half an inch. We're lengthening that spine back to that tabletop position and building some fire. The knees stay bent and we reach as if someone were grabbing our hips and pulling us back into tiger dog. Beautiful. From here, we inhale, find our floating table. Exhale, release back. Yes. Inhale, floating table. Exhale, release back. Gazing at those fingertips, lengthening through the legs, and just pedal the heels ever so slightly. Noticing whether the heels touch the earth or not doesn't matter, but it's the angle and the direction that they're taking. We lengthen through that spine, bend the knees as much as we need. Gaze at the fingertips, draw those feet together, and then gently step those feet forward. Inhaling, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, coming all the way up. Beautiful. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step back to plank. Now we can step back to the toes or the knees I'll demonstrate the knees first, lowering down all the way if we're on those knees, lifting up in cobra, pressing into the palms, lifting the hips and belly first, and then reaching back, curling the toes under, and finding downward facing dog. And we're going to stay here for a few breaths, maybe even closing those eyes. And place our hearts, we can feel those hearts again opening and reaching themselves, expanding. Place those hearts on what it is we want to illuminate with light. What's that word? It's that word that speaks to you, that when you say it in your mind, light from that heart space generates, softens around the heart, and we feel an opening. Gazing at those palms and walking those feet forward. Half lift, exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Staying with this sun salutation, but with this salutation, exhale, forward fold. As much as we're moving the body, let's bring to our mind that word and use that word, stepping back. Again, toe or kneeling plank. If we're on those toes, we just lower, no more than halfway, reaching into upward facing dog. And then hips and belly lift first and find downward facing dog. But we're using that intention to mindfully create space within our breath, within the present moment, right on this mat. We bring that word that illuminates light within us. Gazing at those fingertips, lifting the heels, stepping forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, coming all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Start noticing that breath. Lengthen, inhale, half lift. Exhale, step back, toe or kneeling plank. You pick. Lower and lift, cobra or upward facing dog. And then reach back, finding your downward facing dog. Shoulders drawing away from the ears, the heart expanding. Right leg lifts up towards the sky. And we bend the knee, lifting the heel of the left foot as high as we can. The right foot coming between those hands, and we lower. Top of the foot rests on the earth, and we come into that low lunge position. Checking in to make sure that knee is in line with the ankle. And from here, we take that ringing sensation, that twisting sensation again. So the hands coming to heart center, and maybe our twist is very gentle, and it's just a couple inches towards that right shoulder. Maybe it's a little deeper of an expression where we're taking that left elbow and aligning it to the outside of the right knee. We could keep the left leg lowered or possibly extend. And the hands, we could keep them placed at heart center or extend towards the sky. And then those right arm and fingertips, wherever they are, they take the lead, and we pinwheel, drawing a circle with those arms all the way up, plant the back foot, and find warrior one. Working to square those hips, extending and reaching in that heart space, we might find ourselves looking up, taking those hands behind us and either drawing elbow to elbow together or interlacing those fingertips and extending those arms. From here, that gaze takes us upwards and we extend, leading with the heart to humble warrior. Again, maybe that's just a couple inches As we hinge from the hips, maybe Humble Warrior takes us further, and we travel ourselves down to the inside of the right leg, those fingertips reaching up towards the sky. From here, those hands come to the small of the back. We release the fingertips, drawing them to either side of the leg. And we use the power and strength in our front right leg. We continue to power into that right leg and shift ourselves to a standing position, really being mindful of that transition. Letting the left knee draw itself forward, right fingertips come to the outside of the left knee, and we reach those left fingertips behind, possibly extending that right leg. Noticing creating space for balance sometimes means falling, but it always means giving ourselves that opportunity to grow and step back into it again. Left leg travels behind, and we open ourselves to Warrior Two. So in Warrior Two, those hips and shoulders are now open to the side of our mats. If you're facing me, you'd be nice and open, or if you're to the side, you're feeling that open position. We take that gaze forward with the fingertips. Beautiful. And your right hand reaches towards the sky and lifts up, reverse warrior. Not so much a bending, twisting sensation, but think about how far we can expand upward. So as much as we're really rooting into those legs, we're letting ourselves open and expand upwards. Yeah. And then reaching side angle. Maybe resting that hand on the thigh, possibly extending those fingertips towards the earth. Top hand releases, half bind wrapping behind us, opening through those shoulders. We may like a full bind, connecting both of those hands, but it's up to you. Do what speaks to you today. From here, we release that bind, left fingertips reach towards the sky, and we pull ourselves, as if somebody's grabbing our hand, back up. And we rotate those feet and ankles so that both feet are now pointing themselves outward along the diagonal. We take a small bend, open up those palms, and find sun. Sun pose, we're gonna breathe, inhaling towards the sky, and exhaling, bending the knees right back down. Inhaling towards the sky, and exhaling, bending those knees. We may like lifting one, or maybe lifting both heels. Notice how we create space by moving those feet. Opportunities to lighten and lift ourselves with mindful intention. From here, we cartwheel those hands to the top of the mat, step back with the feet, find your plank position, the toes or the knees, lower and lift your cobra or upward facing dog, and then join together in downward facing dog. Big toes together. Close the eyes. And in this moment, take an inventory of the body. What feels tight? What areas might be talking to you? From here, we lift the heels and bend both at the knees and travel ourselves into puppy pose. And puppy pose is similar to child's pose, except that we keep our hip in alignment with our knee. And then we walk those fingertips out. And we think about leading that heart towards the earth. This is a beautiful opener for that heart space. Some of us will actually be able to lay the chest on the earth in puppy pose. Others of us will just notice that the earth is there and never make that connection, and that's okay. Again, it's not about the destination, but it's about the direction that we're going. It's not about getting everything perfect, but it's about owning the story that we walk with. Walking with forgiveness, grace, humility, and looking again and again to renew. From here, bending these elbows, bring the hands back, and we're traveling into downward facing dog, curling those toes under and lifting the hips. From this place, the left leg lifts up. We lift the right heel as high as we can, bend the knee, and travel ourselves forward into that low lunge position. So this time it's the left leg forward, the right leg is back in that low lunge position. Beautiful place to stay right here. Maybe we invite that twisting, that wringing out. And maybe in this space we notice anything that we have to let go or release. It's a gentle twist, maybe just taking it a little bit towards the corner. Maybe that twist also involves the hinge, where we take the elbow to the outside of the left knee and we're gazing up over that left shoulder. Beautiful place to stay. Maybe we expand those legs behind us, lifting up onto the ball of the foot. Maybe we expand those fingertips. I don't know. What does creating space, what does wringing out the spine look like for you today? From here, those left fingertips, pinwheel and take the lead all the way up towards the sky, and we plant that back foot and find warrior one. So we're bending left leg forward, releasing those shoulders away from the ears, and taking a moment just to gaze up and expand. Maybe taking just a moment to come back to that word, that intention, that light illuminating for our souls. Bending elbow to elbow behind us, we can wrap and connect, or for a different expansion, interlace those fingers and open up to the chest. Again, gazing towards the sky, we shift into humble warrior. So maybe that's half an inch that we carry ourselves. Maybe that humble warrior takes us further forward, reaching ourselves down along the inside of the left knee. Now, if I were there with you in this moment, it's less about how far we travel in a humble warrior, and again, about that space of feeling that heart take the lead and carry us so you can see me along the front side. Wherever we take that heart space, the head follows, which is a beautiful thing to think about. Where the heart goes, the head will follow. And then we release those fingertips, squaring as we can, shifting ourselves forward. All that work comes into the left leg, and we teeter-totter, power ourselves up, bending that right knee, bringing it in front of us. Yeah, take your time getting there. From here, reach those right fingertips to the back. And we grab to the outside of the left leg, possibly extending that left leg. Breathing in and breathing out. That breath of life we carry with us. From here, swing like a pendulum that leg back and find warrior two. So your left leg is bent, right leg 90 degrees or slightly turned in. Strong in those arms and spaces. Left fingertips reach towards the sky. Reverse warrior. What would you like to create space for? And what are you willing to let go of in order to create that space? Just notice what comes to mind as you breathe in those questions. Answers might surprise you, but come. From here, as if somebody were grabbing your right hand, we can reach into a half bind or find that full bind, either one. And then we release those fingertips, re-extend, and pull ourselves back up, opening both of those legs to that sun position. Again, bending through the knees, this time staying bent, maybe taking the hands heart center and using that alternating heel lift, or possibly lifting both heels together. Notice the space opening throughout the torso and the body in this place. And then release, cartwheel everything to the top of your mat. Step back, find your plank, knees or toes. Lower and lift through cobra or upward facing dog. And then release back, this time going right into puppy pose. Bending 90 degrees with those legs. And then reaching the heart towards the earth. Inhaling and exhaling in this space. And then we walk our hands back up to a tabletop position. Swing those legs around in front of us and work down with our backs on the mat. Any way that feels good for you. Maybe grabbing, maybe working through a side position, but travel down, backs on the mat. Those feet coming as close to the glutes as we can bring them. Pressing into the whole foot. Drawing those knees together, hands pressing towards the earth. We notice our back, and often we'll have kind of a hole or a space in our back. Before we lift or do anything, curl and tuck the tailbone so that we can feel all of those vertebrae pressing into the earth. Just notice that sensation. Notice that tucking sensation automatically engages the lower abdominals. And then before we move anything else, notice the shoulders. And often our shoulders are kind of lifting and rounding and we don't even notice it. Try releasing those shoulders down and back and letting them open without even lifting. Letting that heart, chest, rib space expand. Now from here, traveling into bridge pose, pressing into the feet, lifting and curling, tucking that tailbone, and then expanding and lifting the torso. This could be half an inch, and that's as far as we go. This could be a deeper expansion. It's up to you. Notice those shoulders drawing down and back, maybe even giving space for those hands to interlace underneath. Maybe we again lift those heels. So let yourself play with this bridge pose. It could be extending one leg and extending the other leg. It could be lowering and lifting the heels. Just play. Find what feels good for you and play into that space. Breathe into those dark edges and pockets of the body. Let them soften and open. Releasing those hands if they were interlaced, and then coming down one vertebrae at a time. Tailbone is the very last thing to connect again. Drawing those knees towards the chest, grabbing underneath the hamstrings, and gently rocking side to side. Giving ourselves a hug. Remembering that self-validating feeling that we can create internally. And then exhale, let those legs expand, palms rotate towards the sky. We're coming into our final relaxation and meditation for the practice today. And if that feels good for you from a laying down position, please stay there. I'm sitting so that I can speak to you. But find that breath again, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And for just a moment, engage all the muscles of your body at the same time. Give everything a big squeeze. Tight, 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 tight. Squeeze the fists, squeeze the feet, toes, muscles. Even the muscles in our face are tight. And then release. Soften and relax everything. One more time. Inhale, feel that engaging, tightening sensation. Tight, 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 tight. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then exhale, release. And soften. Alma writes about receiving. Maybe asking ourselves, am I willing to receive? There's so many times that we think about giving, or that we could think about giving. But as an opposition of all things, as much as we're willing to give, allowing ourselves to receive, what does that look like? And not receiving necessarily in a worldly perspective of things or stuff, although that could be something that speaks to your heart. The receiving that we can also embrace is receiving grace, forgiveness, those Christ-like principles and attributes that bring us a little bit softer and a little bit lighter. Sometimes taking that journey of receiving and giving comes in where Alma quotes in chapter 5, verse 60 about a wolf. It reminds me of a Cherokee legend, an old Indian legend that says, "There's a fight inside me between two wolves. One is evil, anger, envy, sorrow, shame, pride, resentment. The other is good, joy, peace, love, hope, humility, and kindness." And in this Cherokee legend, it's a grandfather who's speaking to a child. And he shares with him this fight between the two wolves, one that is evil and one that is good. And the boy turns and he says, "Which one will win?" And the wise grandfather answers, "The one you feed." We have so much space within us when we allow and soften into it. Let's use this week to create space to grow. Let's use this week to give and receive internally. And let's use this week to follow Alma's example of illuminating our souls with a light from the everlasting one. The light within me honors the light within each of you. And wherever you are, whether that's lying down or in a seated position, namaste. Thank you so much for joining me in this space here and now. And we'll see you next week.